and welcome back to I'll Watch What They're Watching, where we're curious and adamant about cinema. I am one of your hosts. I'm Kyrie.
And I'm Adam.
And today we're doing a little bit of a kind of a recap as well as a preview for October. So we'll be talking about what we've seen this past month, kind of the good, the bad, and everything in between. And then we will go into basically like most anticipated for October. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I unfortunately have not gotten to see nearly as much as I've wanted to, but I did see a few things. But I know, Adam, you got to the theater more than I did this month.
Yeah, I'm on pace for my goal of seeing 25 movies in the theater this year.
Nice.
As you listen to this podcast, you'll know we very much support going to the theaters and supporting that, and especially local independent owned, especially, which mine kind of is, which I am always so confused by the movies that are playing at my theater. Like today we were there and there was this movie that's an Apple Plus original and it was playing. I was like, how in the world did we get that movie? But not only that, this is just a pet peeve I just have to go off on for a second. They are so bad at choosing which theaters at the movie theater the movie is playing in. So One Battle After Another, which I saw Friday night, you know, the night it's coming out. Big deal, good amount of people there. And it was in just one of the smaller theaters. And the big theaters were Demon Slayer and The Conjuring. What? And I was like, why did we choose this? What is going on? And I'm this kind of person too. I walked into both of them to gander at the amount of people that were watching each of those movies. And there were definitely more people that were there for One Battle After Another. So I was annoyed.
Yeah, I saw it in Alamo Drafthouse, and it was in what's literally called like the big one. It's kind of like the Alamo's version of the IMAX, so like huge theater, tons of people, you know, the recliners, great surround sound. I didn't go opening night. I went Saturday. Oh, it was a Saturday matinee too. I went Saturday at 3:15 p.m. and it was in the biggest theater. And the theater was, I don't want to say like packed, but it was full. It was probably 3/4, 4/5 full.
Yeah, for sure, more full for me than a usual movie night that I'll go to. But this is kind of an exciting time of year, I think, for movies. Not as much September, but we'll talk about as we're previewing October and the rest of the fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some real big hitters start coming out this time of year.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I've kind of noticed this pretty much from, like, the beginning of the year to, like, late April, early May is kind of dead space. Yeah. January, February, March, and usually April are pretty... You end up having a surprise. There's not usually like a highly anticipated thing coming out, but then you have something like Sinners or something where everyone's just like, holy crap, this is the movie of the spring. And then summer blockbuster kind of starts April, May-ish, goes through, kind of wraps up in August. And then same thing, September is kind of a dead month. Like September is kind of a, okay, catch up on things. You're barely starting to see the beginnings of like festival appearances. And then October, you usually have it's usually this mix of festival stuff, but you also, I mean, that's when people really are kind of leaning into spooky season. So like Halloween movies. So I feel like September, October, you kind of have this like jump of horror stuff mixed with the festival stuff trickling in. Whereas like November, December is hard, like awards time. These are the movies that are really trying to make sure that they get an Oscar nomination. Right. And then again, that wraps up at the end of December and you go into January, which is dead again.
Yeah, and I just kind of dumped on a little bit Demon Slayer, I realize. And there's at least one person that might be listening to this podcast that turned it off as soon as I said that. I'm actually kind of surprised that you're not as into Demon Slayer. I haven't heard you talk about it at all. It's grossed, I think, like 650 million so far. So it's almost like Superman levels this year. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, no, it is a big deal. I have not kept up at all with the manga or the anime, so it felt a little disingenuous, but also me being kind of like, I don't want to walk into this thing and for the first hour just be like, what is going on?
Right, and
who are these characters? What's the story?
But for anyone that I kind of know the general like structure of it, where it's a manga, there's a season of TV and then a movie and then a season of TV and then a movie.
Right.
And this movie that just came out is like the 5th movie. So it's basically like you would have to have watched 5 seasons of TV and 4 other movies to understand exactly where you are in the story or something along those lines. So I totally get where you're coming from, but a big deal that, you know, we obviously aren't covering, but I know people that do love that. So shout out Demon Slayer.
Yeah. But yeah, well, I know we really kind of want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into one battle after another. But as far as putting that aside for now, what movies did you get to see in the theaters this month?
Yes, the movies I saw in the theater this month, I saw 3. I really wanted to see Highest to Lowest in the theater and emailed my movie theater twice. And both times they said, no, it's really limited. No, you're not getting this movie. So I had to watch that one on Apple TV, but that's fine. But the first movie I saw this month, and I can't remember in our last recap if I recapped Caught Stealing. I saw that one August 29th.
I don't think you did.
Okay, yeah. So I'll recap that one a little bit. It's just this kind of fun thriller crime movie. Strongly recommend it. It's from the same person that did Black Swan, and so it does have some of that stylistic twist that you don't always expect, and I really, really enjoyed it. Gave it a 4-star. Recommend catching that one if you can.
Yeah, that one was one I planned on, and then, like I said, every weekend it was just like, oh, good, look at this mountain of homework I have, and I just didn't get around to it.
Yeah, and I think they did a decent amount of marketing. The only marketing I know is watching college football games and seeing what movies they're putting on there. And some like NFL games will have a weird tie-in that they'll do like a weird little skit sometimes, like with One Battle After Another. There was a Peyton Manning skit where he pretended to take the call that Leonardo DiCaprio had. And it's like, what is going on? And we'll talk a little bit about that as well, because I was not bought into One Battle After Another with anything that I saw, previews, trailers, hype, until the reviews came out. So we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So anyways, Caught Stealing, that's great. And then the next one I saw was a movie called Twinless. Now, Twinless premiered at Sundance. And Sundance is in the beginning of the year, January, February. And at the time, it had a lot of buzz. Twinless is directed, written by, and stars James Sweeney. This is his second film, I believe, but his first one with like a real quote-unquote budget. And Dylan O'Brien had been attached since like 2020. So it was one of those things where, actually, it might have even been earlier than that. One of those things where it was a project he really liked and really wanted to be a part of. And so he just kind of helped and stayed the whole way through. But anyways, the only thing I'll say about the plot is it's about twins, both of them, and they have a twin that passes away, and then they meet at a grief support group and then kind of start this relationship together. Not necessarily a romantic relationship, but they start this relationship, and it is just fascinating. This is one of those movies that is difficult to recommend, and it's difficult to talk about without major spoilers. I would not recommend watching the trailer. I would not recommend looking up anything about it. I would just go into this blind if you want to trust me, but don't be mad at me if it was not what you expected. I love this movie so much. It is my second favorite movie of the entire year. Dylan O'Brien has been Teen Wolf Hive, Rise Up, Maze Runner, he's on there too. But he's phenomenal. He plays just amazing. I'm obsessed with this movie. I'm obsessed with the structure. I'm obsessed with. I'm dying for you to watch it, Kiri.
I need to find somehow to see it.
there's some things that they do from a couple technical aspects or some deliberate decisions that I'm like, wow, that is so good. And by the end of the year, it could be my favorite. It was my favorite of the year for about 2 weeks until I saw one battle after another. So that's where we're at right now.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so Twinless, can't say enough good about it, but also can't say anything about it because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. And then, of course, this weekend I saw one battle after another, which we'll talk much more about. And I saw Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie.
I was going to ask you about that.
I hate it. When we were making this list last month, I kind of saw it and just kind of chuckled. And I said it if you listen to that episode, but it's like, hey, maybe we'll go see that. And we did go see it today. So
Did you take your son?
Yes, and he was locked in, and so that's all I can ask for.
Great. I was about to say, that's all that matters.
Yep, he was locked in. He loved it. He had a good time. Allie had a good time. I had a good experience. That's
all that matters.
We had a great time. So.
Oh, that's funny.
And I know there's some Gabby's Dollhouse stands, and it's going to make $1 billion. So.
Oh, yeah.
Stay in line for Gabby's Dollhouse.
Yeah, so I did get to see a few things. Not a lot of new releases, but I saw Jaws. Jaws came back for, I think that was this month. Oh. Jaws came back for an anniversary. Saw it in IMAX. It was great. I had so much fun. It was a lot of fun seeing it because Sarah really loves Jaws and has seen it like quite a few times. I've only seen it, I think, once. So there, at one point, she like leaned over to me and was like, "Wow, they're foreshadowing a lot with this," and I was like. I was like, I don't remember everything that happened, so be quiet. She was like, oh, you don't know what happens in a movie? I was like, shut up. But, yeah, no, Jaws was a lot of fun. And then I also did finally get around to seeing K-pop Demon Hunters, which I really got a kick out of. I have not stopped listening to that damn soundtrack. Every single, like, morning or every single, when I'm cleaning, whenever it's on, Sarah's always like, I know what this is. I'm like, yes, you do. We're listening to Soda Pop for the 5,000th time. So, really, really dug K-pop Demon Hunters. Some people know and some people will get to know throughout the podcast. I mean, I really love animation. I also am, like, really frustrated with everything that Disney and Pixar has been putting out in the past, like, decade and a half. So whenever I see something that is like cool and breaking boundaries and is successful that is in the animation film and not Disney, I tend to get very excited. So like last year when Flo, won the Oscar, I was like, heck yes, and Boy and the Heron won and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio won. Like I was ecstatic because I'm like, these are movies in the animation medium that are doing cool stuff. Del Toro's Pinocchio is really, really interesting. Boy and the Heron is, I think, brilliant. Flow is really, really cool. I have some problems with some of the animation is quite clunky. Some of the rendering isn't very good, but I really like what Flow is trying to say. And funny enough, 2 of those 3 movies are in the Criterion Collection. I think just Boy and the Heron isn't because Studio Ghibli hasn't give Criterion Collection distribution rights. Oh. But like, so that's cool with K-pop Demon Hunters is I'm like, I think this has a really honestly decent shot at getting, and I mean, it's gonna get a nomination. I think it's got a pretty good shot at winning the Oscar for Best Animated Feature this year. And that makes me excited because again, I'm like, Disney, look, other people are doing cool stuff. You are not. Please start doing cool stuff again because, I mean, I said this on the very, I guess, second episode. Beauty and the Beast is my favorite movie of all time. It's every time I watch it, I'm like, it's still perfect. It's still 5 stars. It's still one of the greatest movies ever made. And I mean, I gushed about Little Mermaid in our Little Mermaid Ponyo episode. So, and I just am so disappointed with everything they're doing lately. And so it's cool for me to see animated films be successful and doing things well because I'm hoping that it will kind of take a studio that historically has been a front runner and will kind of kick them in the pants, so to speak, and say, hey, start doing stuff that's good again. So that's my little mini Disney rant.
No, I love that. Gabby's Dollhouse was DreamWorks, by the way. I was kind of surprised by that. But it was like real life, too. Have you seen Marcel the Shell?
Pieces. I know what it is.
Okay, yeah. The movie that came out a few years ago was really pretty good, but it's that same sort of style where you're also in the real world.
Yeah.
But it is like a dollhouse, so I think the plastic is a deliberate choice.
Interesting.
Some of the others that you don't like. You could probably look up some clips from the movie, and
I'm looking up some pictures, and so far I'm not overly impressed, but it also doesn't look awful.
There were some cool things. There were some fun things that I enjoyed. But yeah, just wanted to plug a few other movies that did come out that both Kyrie and I did not get to. So a few of the other movies that came out, again, that we didn't get to, Long Walk. It's a Stephen King adaptation.
Yes.
Mark Hamill's in it.
I've seen mixed reviews about that.
Right. It's gotten... When I first was seeing stuff about it, I was like, this doesn't look good. But then there were reviews that were like, yeah, this is good. So that was a little surprising. I think it's done decently well. I already mentioned Demon Slayer, mentioned The Conjuring a little bit. I haven't seen The Conjuring. But this was apparently the last one. People were fine with
him. Was not well received.
The reviews were so bad that I didn't even waste my time. So...
Yeah, and there's A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey with Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell. That one, I remember seeing trailers for it, and I was like, this is probably going to get bad reviews because this looks like a really saccharine rom-com. I still kind of think it looks kind of cute. I might go see it.
Hey, when I first saw the trailer too, I was like, "Oh, I could get behind this." I think, but then again, I shouldn't be so swayed by reviews, but I was and am.
Oh, I totally am. Yeah, because I'm like, it's Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell. However, after we talk about One Battle After the Other, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey might honestly be the movie that I need right now with my
fair.
mental and emotional state. So I might go see it and walk out and just be like, that was lovely. And no one will agree with me, and that's okay.
There's also a Downton Abbey.
Cool. But let's talk about One Battle After Another, because you saw it first, and then you texted me Friday night, and you basically were like, holy crap, this is wild. This is amazing. I'm not going to tell you anything, but go see it.
Yes. And then you saw it, and you texted like, oh, no.
I texted you,
and
I believe my direct quote was, and you said no.
We had a little heart to heart, little talk. We talked through it, and I think we've come out in a good spot, and I think that
we have. I am feeling much kinder towards it. Yeah.
There are valid feelings for someone to walk into this movie. Okay, let's just talk about the marketing, right? So you watch the marketing for this, and the first thing I saw was Tiana Taylor's character, pregnant, at a shooting range, just going to town with a machine gun. And I was like, what is this? I don't, what is going on? And then you see Leonardo DiCaprio running around in a bathrobe, acting like a schizophrenic, and you're like, what is this movie and why do I want to see it?
And those were the only real screen grabs I caught, and I knew it was a Paul Thomas Anderson film. That was all I knew going into this thing.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit spoiler free and then draw a line.
Okay, great.
And then talk a little bit more spoiler. So the non-spoiler part of this, basically anyone that's plugged into sort of the movie culture of online people just talking about generally movies that are coming out or movies that are going to be awards contenders, that sort of thing. About a week ago, the reviews for One Battle After Another dropped, and it was all like 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10. This is incredible. Metacritic is in the high 90s after like 40 reviews, and
which is insane.
It's unheard of. And so people are like, oh, this is a big deal. This is something to be seen. And I think what I can say, and some of the reviews I caught a little bit that I read, is from the jump this movie starts and you're like, wait, what is this movie about? Just from what's in the news. It
starts hot and heavy.
Yeah, what's in the news every day in America are like biggest issues as far as things that divide us as Americans immediately starts. Yeah. And so I think that's where, before we again get into the specifics, I think that's where you can watch this and you can approach this, and seeing that depiction you can pick up things along the way that build that sense of hope in you, and you can kind of be like, yes, let's go and let's do this. And then I think in other times, and I oscillate between the two at different points, but I think you can also walk into this and see that immediately and be like, oh my gosh, this is really tough for me to watch right now. I'm not in the headspace to be dealing with like real life stuff we need to be dealing with right now. And so I think that's maybe where, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think those are approaches that are possible when you walk into this movie.
Yeah. So, and I'll kind of get into my thoughts and feelings on it without going into spoiler territory. I did not realize, again, I went in very blind. I did not realize it was a political satire. It's based off of a book in the 90s. My one like non-emotional critique is I do think it is too long. I think there's a 45-minute prologue that does not need to be there, because everything in the prologue I think is either said or inferred in the other 2 hours. So I think that 45-minute prologue. I
strong disagree on that. And the one reason I'll say that, so the performances in this movie are all incredible. I wouldn't be shocked if this swept. Let me think.
Oh, it's going to win Best Picture.
Oh, I agree with that. I'm thinking of the acting categories. I don't know if there's. I saw the discussion a little bit.
Leo's going to get a nomination. I would be willing to bet Sean Penn gets a nomination.
But anyways, all of the performances in this are incredible. And the reason why I strongly disagree on that prologue point is that you feel Tiana Taylor throughout this entire movie, even though she's only in the prologue. And I think that's...
Then why do we have a prologue?
What do you mean? Because she's...
If you can feel her in the whole film, why do we need to have that prologue to feel that presence? I think we could feel that presence again. I'm not trying to argue. I'm trying to argue a little bit.
No, please do argue. You wouldn't feel it if you didn't have the prologue, though. It would if we were just hearing about a mom that wasn't there. Okay, now we're talking spoilers. But if you're, it would not hit the same. I think
Then I think we could have had a prologue that was 15 minutes and not. It's almost a freaking hour, and it's basically a prologue. There is no need for that. That would be like reading a book and the first third is the prologue. No, the first prologue is like 5 pages. I would have preferred like a 15-minute prologue than 45 freaking minutes.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I really love this movie, and it is 2 hours and 40 minutes. And there was a point when I was watching, probably like 2 hours in, that I did a check, and I'm like, hey, how you doing inside there? You still with this? You still hanging on? And I think for me, I was like, oh yeah, I could keep going for another 2 hours. I'm digging this. I'm loving everything I am watching. So I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like the pace. I feel like the pacing was very good, even though it's a 2 hour, 40-minute movie. I don't think it's without critiques to a tighter edit. I think that's possible, but I'm not mad about it. And I think it's fine the way it is. But I think that I don't disagree that I think there could be some things to tighten up. But I do strongly disagree on the prologue part, and I'll stick with my reasoning that Tiana Taylor is so powerful, and I love watching her, and I think that she, because of her performance for the first 40 minutes, that is carried with you the whole time. Everything that's happening is framed by the actions that she did, and I really enjoy that.
Okay, I can get on board with that. 100%. I see where you're coming from. I think there's enough inferred and straight out said in the other 2 hours that it's not entirely necessary, but I can see where you're coming from, where that would lay some groundwork for a really emotional arc through the rest of the film. I can see that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, let me back up just a little bit, just back into non-spoiler territory, because that was my one just like critique on the film. I think I am in a very and we talked about this a little bit. I am in a very emotional state right now. And the political climate right now does give me a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
And I think in watching, because if you guys listen to the next episode, we compare I Saw the TV Glow with The Matrix and Ghost in the Shell. And I love Ghost in the Shell, but it is also a little bit intense. And I had also I had to emotionally and mentally grapple with I Saw the TV Glow for about a week. Like, that movie messed me up in some ways. And so I think, not knowing what I was going into, I walked into one battle after another, and like you said, like, it immediately kicks off, and you're just like, holy crap. And there's shootings, and there's anarchy, and there's rebellions, and elements of fascism, and it's just what I did is I came home and I looked at my girlfriend, because I was just I was honestly kind of a wreck after the movie. Mm-hmm. And I walked in the house and I was like, I need a hug. She gave me a hug and she goes, what's going on? And I was like, the political climate is everywhere. And that was the emotional state I had right after I finished it. I was like, this thing that is everywhere that I can't get away from, that is, and I told you, like, I got off social media for months at the beginning of the year because I was having regular, like, anxiety attacks. And I was like, okay, I can't do this. I can't function. I can't be a normal human being being exposed to this much information. And there's so much death out there right now, and there's so much division, and there's so much hate that I find it extremely overwhelming. And already kind of being in I'll just like delicate emotional state, I walked in that movie not knowing what it was, being like, ooh, I'm going to watch this big awards contender thing, going to watch Leo do his thing. I'm so excited. And that's how I felt, was like, I felt like, and again, I'm not saying this is the case, and I want to explain a little bit more after I kind of just share how I was feeling. I came out of it, and with the 1-2 punch of I Saw the TV Glow and that shortly within one another, I almost felt like violated, where I was like, this hate and this disagreement and this division that I'm seeing has now, like, I felt, almost violated, because I was like, it's made its way into this thing that I love. This thing, and I don't view movies just as escapism either, so I don't know why it necessarily hit me so hard. Like I said, I think there were a lot of things at play at the time that I won't go completely into, but I think that's just how it was, is I walked out just being like, damn it. Like, everything that is driving me crazy right now has made its way into, like, my sacred space. After sitting with it, movies have always been an outlet for, like, commentary, social and political commentary. And that's one of the things that I love about movies. Film has always been a medium where people have felt free to speak their mind and to make commentary on the state of the world. And I don't ever want to take that away. Just at the time, I was like, screw you, stay out of my sacred space. Now that, now that I've kind of sat with it, and I am not so emotionally fraught with despair and existential crisis, I'm looking at it and I'm like, no, this is what movies are for. I do think the ending is very hopeful. Mm-hmm. And very much something I agree with, because I think after again, there were some recent shootings that really kind of messed me up, and I ended up patching things up with family members and friends because I basically was like, life is too short. And I have had previously I have been very aggressive and direct with a lot of my thoughts and beliefs. Mm-hmm. And I have been very pacifist lately. And I think that's also why going into it, and now we can kind of get into spoiler territory, like the rebellion at the beginning in that prologue is not a rebellion I agree with or want to be a part of. But I am so tired of death and division and hate and violence that I look at these rebellion, these freedom fighters, and I'm like, I agree. Like, I feel like you and I, these, freedom fighters and I, like, we have the same ideals. We have some of the same beliefs. I don't agree with the way you're approaching it. And I think by the end, seeing some things, seeing what the next generation is doing, I think is very hopeful. And we can kind of get into it.
The very first scene of this movie is a ICE detention center, and they go and they free everyone from the ICE detention center. And I was like, oh, this is what this movie is. So again, it's like the marketing for that is obviously just not even in the realm of where this movie is going.
No.
And I think even so and I don't know how you necessarily do that.
And I think, and maybe I'm just paranoid, but like that's the thing, is that opened on that scene, like you said, and I just felt like I had been dumped I felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped on me. Like I was just like, oh, this is this movie that I walked into.
Right.
Okay.
Right. No, and so again, that's why I kind of teed this off with that talk of the different ways that art can affect you. That sometimes art does affect you in a way that just makes you feel ill, makes you feel bad about certain things.
Totally.
And other times it can make you feel very hopeful and very excited. Like just thinking back, this wasn't a movie I cried in, but just thinking back to how it ends and the way that I don't remember if I did text you this, but I put it in parentheses, so I don't know if you caught it on. But I feel like the end is very, very similar to the end of Superman from earlier this year, where it's like movie, you have this whole kind of things building up, and then it ends. I'm getting chills. Like it has this end, throws on this needle drop that's just like this really upbeat, hopeful thing, and you just feel this sense of like hope, right? Superman, it's like, hey, be kind, and in your heart how you feel about your parents and all that stuff. Spoiler for Superman, sorry. And in this one, it's just this feeling of community and, the kind of I feel like the main thesis, there's a million different things going on, but the main thesis is kind of that every new generation is going to do better, and they're going to pick up the fight, and they're going to learn from the things that you did, and they're going to go and they're going to do things and they're going to have successes. And so again, I just feel like that the song that plays, as soon as it started, I was grinning ear to ear, just so happy, and just the way that she goes out and goes just,
and I think at the time I watched it, I was already too in my head. So at that part happened, I was like, okay, well, we're at the end of the movie. Great. I don't know that I liked it. Adam's gonna hate me. And when I think back on it, I'm just like, no, that's a great scene that I really wasn't paying attention to, because at that point I was way too in my head already. Mm-hmm. And I think, being willing to travel 3.5 hours to go to a protest. And, well, like I said, because the freedom fighters at the beginning in the prologue, and even less throughout the film, but especially in the prologue, like, they are violent, they are aggressive, they are explosive, they are divisive, they are not interested in negotiations, they are not. And that is a way to go about things. I don't think it is it's not the way that I want to do it. And I've talked about this on the podcast before too. Like, there are different ways I go about, with people knowing that I'm queer. I could shove it down people's throat. And I hate using that phrase, but like, I could be very aggressive about it. I could be like, well, either get on board or get out of the way. And I have times where I'm like that, where I'm basically like, well, being gay is part of my life, so suck it up, buttercup. But I have found that, like, that doesn't typically bring about the reactions that I want. I would rather people know me as like a nice person and someone who's just like them, who also happens to be queer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that at the end, you know, where there's this teenager who is basically like, yeah, I don't mind traveling 7 hours round trip to go stand up for something I believe in a way that is not violent, in a way that is not aggressive, but in a way that is still making an impact. And so I do think, I wish I hadn't been so in my head at that point, because I do think that by the time you get to that point, it is a really powerful message to be like, yeah, there's several ways we can go about with people we don't agree with, whether it's the freedom fighters at the beginning, whether it's Lockjaw and his crew, whether it's, you know, the Christmas Adventurers Club. And the way that, you know, Willa is going about it at the end, I think is the way that I agree with. And I think the messaging of the film is saying that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's telling us what to believe, but I think the film's opinion is that the radical freedom fighters were maybe not the way to go about it. And Lockjaw and his men aren't in the right, but maybe the way they were fighting Lockjaw before is less humane and less impactful, and the next generation is doing it the right way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I think it is very clear saying that, you know, white nationalism and supremacy and fascism are bad, full stop.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's...
and if you haven't seen this and you're not going to, and you're just listening to this and listening to us spoil it, so the Christmas Adventurers is this group of old white men that is... when I first watched it, I thought they were like joking, like the characters themselves, and then I realized it's not. It's this cult that is basically it's a white supremacist group called the Christmas Adventurers, and they do Hail to Saint Nick's and
Saint Nick. Hail Saint Nick.
It is just so like jarring, and so it took me like a second to be like, wait, what am I watching here? But just like basically satire turned up to 11 on white supremacy.
I think I'm also still just learning how to watch satire and dark comedies, because historically I don't like dark comedies. And I think if I were to go into this being like, this is a satire, this is a comedy, I would like it better, because it was much funnier than I expected. And I think the parts, and I think there were parts that I took too seriously that weren't meant to be taken that seriously.
Right. Again, I feel like every single person ever that was interested in this movie, knew it had buzz, even watched trailers and then went and saw it, would not have realized what was going on.
No.
And I'll be the first to say I want to watch a few more PTA films, the director.
Yeah, because you haven't seen any of his.
I haven't seen any, and there's a couple that are high on my watch list. So I don't know, maybe the PTA heads out there are screaming at us like you just don't know. But it did feel, it took a second, and I'm like, oh, this is supposed to be pretty funny, intermixed with some serious things. And I did see that as a criticism that I think is valid, is that all the Black women in this movie are very serious and very strong and powerful and do an amazing job. But then Leo is like the comic relief. And so it's kind of this larger scale criticism of like, well, those people always have to be serious and taking these things seriously because that's their life. And if they don't, they can't just skate by, versus Leo, who can be a little bit more, he's literally high.
It's Leonardo DiCaprio. He can do whatever he wants.
Now from a movie perspective and from watching this, Leo is incredible. I think it's some of his best work even. And again, I think there's a very good shot that he gets another Oscar with this performance. Benicio del Toro is also really, really funny in this, but I think
very funny.
He also plays his part funny, but also like very strong in the way that he builds his community and kind of protects them. But then he also does come in to be this really other funny side character with him and Leo and their misadventures going about are really funny.
Yeah. Because you mentioned, and I thought this too, that there was no need for Lockjaw to have like his comeback moment.
Yeah.
Like he got shot and we were like, okay, he's dead, it's over. And then he somehow lives. My friend did make this point, and it's given me a lot to kind of chew on and talk and think about. He thinks he gets accepted into the Christmas Adventurers. As it turns out, they gas him and kill him. I think that is interesting commentary on these elite groups and these elite like secret societies and cults. I think the interesting message is you are never going to be good enough.
Mm-hmm.
He has spent his whole life trying to do this thing. He's then gone on this crusade with one little what he feels is a mistake that he was made. He miraculously comes back from the dead and still scrapes it together. It doesn't matter what he does. It doesn't matter how squeaky clean he thinks he is. It doesn't matter how much effort he puts into this. It doesn't matter how good he is. He was never going to be let into that group. And I think the idea behind that is if these elite societies, these groups, if we are so elitist and so exclusive, then no one's ever going to be able to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think an interesting idea with that as well is, again, it doesn't matter how much you try to censor yourself. It doesn't matter what you try to do. You are never going to be good enough for some people.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, is he came back from the dead. Like he did everything, quote, everything right that he felt he needed to. He was never going to be part of them.
Yeah.
But at that point he knew too much. So they accepted him in, then they killed him.
Yeah. Wild. I have two more things real quick. Number one, the score. 10 out of 10. No notes.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's got some sweet piano work and just, so just keeps you on your toes. Love it. And the second one is I do think this is just a beautiful movie to look at. From the beginning, kind of seeing the...
Oh, yeah, shot wonderfully.
The rooftop scene when they're running on the roof and the skaters are kind of doing like an almost West Side Story, really exaggerated sort of jumps across and then Leo falls 40 feet to the ground. It's amazing. The car chase at the end is filmed. I assume they had another vehicle or something with cameras mounted on like the front bumper basically. And so you're right on the road going up and down over these hills where it literally feels like a video you're watching of a roller coaster, like on YouTube, and you're watching like a first person roller coaster, but it's a car chase scene basically on this long highway with these three cars, and you're just watching it in the suspense and the music. Just, it's one of those things where you're like, cinema, movies. Yeah, this is it. This is amazing.
Yeah, just gorgeous cinematography.
But yeah, just shot incredibly, and just everything about the movie making, technical, nerdy stuff is like you said earlier.
Yeah,
this is probably sweeping most things at the Oscars.
Yeah, I think we've got our best picture, and I think it's gonna get a handful of other ones. Yeah.
I'm not gonna write off. We're about to talk about movies coming up. I'm not going to write off Hamnet. Hamnet, is that how you say it? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not going to write it off until I see it. I think that could compete in Best Picture. I think director is locked. Okay. There's no way he's losing. Director.
But October. So the things that I know I'm kind of looking forward to. They're doing a re-release of the Spider-Man Tobey Maguire trilogy. Looking forward to that. There's Tron Ares, which I don't really know anything about the Tron movies.
So
I have no skin in the game there.
Yeah, so obviously there's the older one, and then they remade the one. It was a big deal.
2011.
Yeah, because Daft Punk did the score, and that was, even in 2011, I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. So I've seen it once, I think, and I don't remember how I feel about it, but I think I liked it. I was intrigued and excited about Tron Ares, and then Jared Leto, and then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. There's an anime movie that I've seen before that's getting a re-release called The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. I may or may not see it. I'm going to try to, but it's only in there for 3 days, one of them being today. Okay. So I'm going to try to catch it. I may or may not. It looks like there's going to be a documentary about Renee Elise Goldsberry, who played Angelica Schuyler in the original cast of Hamilton.
Okay.
That looks kind of interesting. I may or may not see that. This sounds ridiculous, but I'm really into whatever is going on with Kiss of the Spider-Woman.
Okay. Do you know
I know almost nothing about it. Not much, but the vibes, I'm like, I'm here for these vibes. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on, but I am here for it.
Okay, I'll tell you a few things, none of them spoiler. It's a remake.
I know it's going to be a musical.
Yes, it's a remake. It's a musical, and it premiered at, I want to say Sundance. It was like a while ago is all I know. And I think people were like, yeah, this works, like it's fine, it's good. Nothing, as far as I understand, people are like, yeah, it's good, but they're gonna really push Oscars for J-Lo, Andor Man, Cassian from Andor. I don't remember
right.
Oh, Diego Luna. And then, but I think the one they think actually might have a shot is the other male lead. I don't know his name either, but apparently he's good in this. So yeah, that movie does look pretty interesting.
Yeah, the vibes are here for that one. Black Phone 2. I have yet to see the first one, but I know it's set in Colorado, so I sort of feel compelled to see it. Okay.
I've heard good things so far.
Begonia, I don't know how I feel about yet. I mean, it's what's her face? It's Emma Stone, who's great. Jesse Plemons, who I also have been really impressed with lately. But like Yorgos keeps cranking out films like they're going out of style.
One a year,
and I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about him as a director yet, because I didn't, and I'm one of the few people who feel this way. I did not like The Favorite. That movie finished, and I was like, well, that was fine, I guess.
Did you see Poor Things?
No, but I think I would like it a lot.
I'd be interested to see what you think about it.
So, like, Begonia, I'm interested. Like, I'm definitely intrigued. I think it looks trippy.
I'll give a quick plot summary. 2 conspiracy theorists, Jesse Plemons and whoever else it is, they kidnap Emma Stone, who's this kind of big CEO, because they sincerely believe she's an alien. So,
yes.
Sounds wild.
And with it being Yorgos, I'm like, she might actually be an alien. I don't know. And then Good Boy? I can't decide.
Oh, sure.
Here's the thing. I don't mess with dog movies. Because you texted me and you were like, what in the world is this? I'm hearing so much about it. And I was like, no, I saw it was dog and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't mess with dog movies.
My understanding
I don't screw around with that.
It's a horror movie from the perspective of a dog.
Right, which is fine.
I will not be seeing this.
Yeah. Those are the only ones that are really on my radar.
Yes, I have a few more. Again, as I kind of teed off at the beginning, I get really excited this time of year. And I'll go into this quick thing. I was talking with Allie about this during the Barbenheimer Oscars. And a lot of people were frustrated that Barbie didn't win Best Picture or some of the other things. And I'm not a Barbie slanderer by any means. I like that movie, and I think it does a lot of good things, and I think it was a good movie for the time, and a lot of people feel a lot of, good feelings and strong feelings about that. I like Barbie.
Right.
A lot of people were really mad about it, and my thought process was like, okay, how many of the other 9 nominations have you seen? And for most people that were mad that Barbie didn't win, the answer was mostly they hadn't seen any. And so what I really love about the Oscars, yes, they're pretentious. Yes, they don't really matter. Yes, they're wrong. yes, you shouldn't be judging art. All those things are true, but I think it is one of the best ways to recognize some technical things and to recognize art that is being produced. And for someone like me, it puts and I'll give an example in a sec, but I think it gives someone like me a touch point of a lot of different movies that I would not have otherwise seen. Right? If I'm going to do the Oscar gauntlet this year, especially now that we have the podcast, I'm going to try to watch every single feature nominated for the Oscars this upcoming year. Not just Best Pictures, every single one. I've done Best Pictures.
Everyone, yeah.
I've done Best Picture the last like 4 or 5 years. I've tried to watch all of them. And the last 3, I know I've watched all of them. And I think the one before I watched most. But anyways, as we're looking up into October, and rewind just a little bit, sorry. It's like Twinless is a movie. It's not going to get nominated for any Oscars. I could push for Dylan O'Brien if they had the right campaign. If they really pushed, I think they could get Dylan O'Brien in there, but they won't, and they're not going to. So I'm not saying the Oscars are the end all be all. Twinless is going to remain probably one of my favorite movies of the year, and it's not going to get any recognition, and that's just fine. But there are movies that I would not regularly see that I'm going to see because they're Oscar nominated, and I think that's a good thing. So couple that I'm been keeping up with, coming up this next week, actually tomorrow, if this releases on Thursday, and Friday releases. Well, for me, this is another complaint I just have to go through really quick. You know how movies release on Thursdays now? Yeah. Not here. It's still Friday, so that's annoying.
Still Friday? Okay.
Yeah, no midnight releases, no early screenings. I just have to be there Friday. I cannot.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, annoying. Anyways, so The Smashing Machine. This is one that's getting a lot of buzz, especially for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. He plays I think MMA fighter. And this is I think there's like a documentary that is basically the same story, but it's a documentary. So maybe watch that, and it might be better because it's real.
Right.
But I don't know. This is supposed to be good because it's him. He supposedly gives a great performance. Best actress, Emily Blunt, right?
Oh, yes. We love her.
Emily Blunt is likely going to get buzz for supporting actress. And then the director is Benny Sadifi. Is that how you say it? And
something like that.
And he's an acclaimed director too. So that's one to keep an eye on, as well as Anemone. Which,
yeah, I think Daniel Day-Lewis only came back because it's his son. Right. So I don't know how I feel about Anemone yet.
It also has Sean Bean in it. The trailers for this are wild. I have no idea what this movie is about. So, I think most people are kind of cautious about this one. Like, let's see how it is. Maybe an acting nomination can come out of it. Already talked about Kiss of the Spider Woman. It Was Just an Accident is also coming out this month. This is this actually won the Palme d'Or, which is the Cannes Film Festival, like the voted jury prize. And so just as a reference point, here's some other movies that won the Palme d'Or. Anora last year, which won Best Picture.
Best Picture.
Anatomy of a Fall the previous year, which was nominated for Best Picture, which I think is a great movie. Yep. Love it. Triangle of Sadness the year before, nominated for Best Picture.
Which I did not like.
Hey, me too. High five. I did not like that movie.
I hated it.
And then in 2019, Parasite, which won Best Picture. So,
yeah.
I'm not saying...
It's got a good track record.
I'm not saying It Was Just an Accident is going to get nominated, but that is a good track record, as you said. This is also intriguing. It's a co-production between Iran, France, and Luxembourg, and it kind of explores political repression in Iran and some kind of morality around that. I don't know any other details beyond that, except for that apparently international feature is also a category at the Oscars. And there's apparently some issues because this is a couple of different countries.
Right.
Anyways, that's
right.
It sounds interesting. I'll after The Hunt, that was Luca Guadagnino, but apparently it's not being reviewed well, so probably not going to get any.
No.
But maybe Julia Roberts might squeeze in an acting nomination. And then House of Dynamite, which I'm really intrigued by. This is Catherine Bigelow is the director. She did The Hurt Locker. Which won Best Picture? Or at least was nominated.
Oh, I don't remember. I think it won.
So she's a big deal. This is another political...
It did win. Sorry, I just remembered. Okay. Yes, it did win.
This is another political one. It's like, I think the synopsis is a missile is sent to the United States and nobody knows who sent it. So, bad stuff. But...
Interesting.
Rebecca Ferguson is in this movie, and I love her. So I will be in line.
Last one that I am cautiously looking at, Truth and Treason.
I haven't heard of that.
Have you seen... I'll read you the synopsis real quick. As World War II rages, a teenage boy in Germany is forced to confront a terrible truth. Loyalty to his country now means loyalty to a lie. When his trusted bishop urges obedience to the Nazi regime, he begins to question everything, and after his Jewish friend is taken away, he secretly listens to banned audio broadcasts and launches a resistance exposing the truth. But in a nation ruled by fear, defiance comes at a cost, and as the regime closes in, he must decide what it truly means to be a good German.
Yes, I have heard that one. So the other one I'll mention is Good Fortune. This is the one with Seth MacFarlane, Aziz Ansari, Keanu Reeves, Keke Palmer, where Keanu Reeves is an angel and has to go. It's a comedy, shenanigans, not an Oscar player, but could be fun. We'll see how it goes. And then I did want to say last thing for this podcast, unless you have anything else, we are approaching November, which is there's some big hitters from a box office coming up on the horizon. We have a new Predator movie. We have Wicked Part 2. We have Zootopia 2. And then getting into December, we have Avatar 3. So a few of those will also be awards contenders, but those are some of the more bigger box office draws coming up in the near future as well.
All right. Well, we will wrap it up there, but next we've got Arts v Charts, and then we're probably going to do like a spooky themed top 5 for October and Halloween.
It'll be fun.
Catch you guys next time.
Thanks.